Hey everybody, and welcome to today's vlog about knee pain, ways to minimize it, reduce it, keep it at bay. This is mainly, a lot of these tips will help with any knee pain. So if you've had an injury, you're fully recovered, your knees are a little achy and things like that. If you just have that knee pain and you don't know why, you've never had an injury, you've never done anything to it, and sometimes it just bothers you and you want to quit having that pain, use some of these tips. It's going to be great. So I'm just going to go through, I've got 5, I've got a whole full blog post written up about it as well if you prefer to read that. But these are just a couple things that are super important and will just kind of keep you healthy, keep your knees in their best shape possible, and yeah, minimize the pain. So, first things first, strengthen your glutes. So you may not think that glutes have anything to do with your knees and things like that, but they do, and I'm not going to go super into it and things like that, but strengthening your glutes can only help your knees. And knee pain. So make sure those glutes are nice and strong. By that, I don't just mean squat, squat, squat till your head falls off. You want to do banded exercises, or even not banded exercises, but if you just want to do them body weight, so things like clams, fire hydrants that are going to really target the glute medius, lying leg lifts, so like the leg abduction where it goes up, you're lying on your side, you're lifting your leg up, you're really focusing in these on using that glute. Exercises like this are going to help you with that mind-muscle connection because you're solely focusing on using that glute there. Whereas in a squat, there's lots of other things going on, and it's easy to, kind of just go through the motions, maybe go a little quad heavy, things like that. So you want to make sure that within your overall plan for your lower body, you have these glute strengthening exercises in there. So I've got a lot more listed and linked in my blog post write-up about this, but just making sure that you're hitting your glutes with those smaller, more targeted type exercises, as well as, your normal lunge variations, squat variations, and things like that. And really remembering that strengthening your glutes will in turn help minimize knee pain. So that's number 1, super good to always remember in general. And of course, who doesn't want to work on their glutes, right? So this is great news, isn't it? Number 2, we are going to always, always, always have good form. So you want to make sure when you're doing your lower body exercises, you're always using correct form. And I know this is something that we all know, and you're like, oh my gosh, quit harping on it. But I want to encourage you, if you have any doubt in your mind that your form isn't correct, to really go all out to correct it, make sure that you're doing it right. There's tons of YouTube videos. I have one right now on a sumo squat and a squat. I need to add more, but there's tons of resources for you to really figure out if you're using the correct form. Obviously, when you're looking for resources and videos and things like that, make sure it's a good resource and a solid, solid person that's qualified and knows and can actually help. But definitely look it up. Definitely practice body weight beforehand. If you're not sure about your form, or you're just starting for the first time with, squats, lunges, any variations of those, make sure that you really practice a few times body weight before you add weights to those movements. So when you have poor form, you're adding stress and strain to your joints and things, and your knees. We're talking about knees. So to your knees, that is unnecessary, and it's just going to cause pain and inflammation. So you don't want that, and you definitely don't want to add weight to that. So make sure before you add weight, have your correct form. Once you look it up and you see, practice body weight, and practice in a mirror even better, so you can see yourself, see what you're doing, and correct as you go. So practice that form. It is so important, so key for your progress and for your joint health, overall just, safety in exercise. So that's number 2. Number 3 is going to be stretching. I know this is something, again, we all know we should stretch, but a lot of times it's just something that falls to the wayside. So for me, I was a high school and college athlete, and you would never catch me stretching. It eventually caught up to me. I ended up with some IT problems and some knee issues because of that and things, in college, but now I stretch because I know that that's such an important part to staying healthy, minimizing pain, being able to continue making progress and staying fit, and whatever your goals are. But stretching is super important, and since we're talking about knees, definitely make sure that you're stretching out your whole lower body to minimize knee pain. And especially we want to have those hip flexors open. A lot of times, and I could have talked about this with the glutes as well, we sit all day long at work, and we come home, we sit at dinner, after that we go to the TV and we sit, and we maybe have, you know, that hour or 30 minutes of activity during the day. And so our glutes just get used to sitting, they fall asleep, they stop being used. So when we go to exercise, they're not ready to be used. And our hip flexors get very tight because they're used to being in that tightened position. So the glutes are used to being lax and the hip flexors are used to being tight, and it causes imbalances. So when we try to correct those by strengthening the glutes and stretching the hip flexors, it's really going to help with knee pain and just a lot of stuff in general. It's going to help with your form as well. So when we're talking about stretching, make sure you're stretching all over your lower body, but pay special attention to your hips and your hip flexors, because that is a part of the body that just takes a beating from sitting all the time. And yeah, it just really is going to take a while for them to open back up. So really focus on it. Don't get discouraged. Spend the time. You can start out just, you know, 5 minutes a day, just stretching 5 minutes a day, not a ton of time, and you can build on that. And if you miss a few days, no big deal. A couple days on track and going towards your goal is better than not trying at all. So make sure you're stretching. Really focus on those hip flexors. Again, I have a link in the blog post to a couple stretches that are helpful. After that is going to be foam rolling. So this is number 4, and similar to stretching, it's another thing that kind of just, meh, I don't feel like doing it, it's a hassle, it's not doing anything for me. That's kind of, you know, the process we sometimes go through. And if you don't have a foam roller, I mean, this one, I would just go with stretching. If you don't have a foam roller, no big deal, it's okay, you can get one at some point, but this will help. So you can get one for, I think, $15 or $20 at Marshalls and TJ Maxx, and they're usually pretty nice. So they're like the little hard on the inside, foam on the outside ones. I've seen a lot of them. But foam rolling is really going to help. Foam rolling your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, and then you can foam roll your TFL. I just realized you can't see me pointing to my legs here, but you can foam roll your TFL as well. That's another thing. If you Google how to foam roll your TFL, you can find that. But it's just something that, you know, it's a little muscle that gets pretty irritated easily, you know, for runners and other things like that, active people. So make sure you're foam rolling your lower body, really just spending a couple nights a week. Even if you're only doing like 5 or 6 minutes here too, it's always better than nothing. Something is always better than nothing. So go for it. And then the last thing is going to be one that is another common sense thing, or like, oh, what the heck, like obviously I should eat well, but I'm going to encourage you to eat a nourishing diet and drink a lot of water, because that has so much more to do with pain and joints and things than we realize or than we admit to knowing. We all know when we eat certain foods we feel worse, and when we eat other foods we feel better. So this is kind of just an extension of that. When we eat lots of processed foods, lots of foods that are full of added sugar and things like that, we just feel worse, right? So what's happening is we're creating inflammation in our body. So if you really start to pay attention, and you do sometimes have, you know, joint pain or knee pain, and you can't figure out quite when it flares up and stuff, really focus on kind of what you're eating, and notice maybe days when you just go wild and have tons of you know, processed breads and added sugar desserts and things like that, that maybe, you know, you get some more pain, and that's kind of your body telling you that that's not the best thing for it, 1, but 2, it's inflammation. So processed foods create inflammation in the body. So I'm really going to encourage you, if you're having knee pain and it's just something that really bothers you, clean up your diet for a few weeks and watch how much better things get. I have people do this with Whole30. They completely cut out, you know, like all kinds of stuff. They realize it bothers them, and they're like, wow, I've never felt so good. So kind of the same concept here. You want to get lots of veggies, fruits, whole foods, and just nourish your body well. It will recover faster, you'll feel better, your joints will feel better, your knees will feel better. It just helps with literally everything. And then the last little part of that is drinking water. So this also seems like a no-brainer. Obviously, we need to drink water, but just a good reminder, water helps to lubricate your joints. So that's a big part. When we're dehydrated, it's harder on our joints. It's harder on all of our body when we're dehydrated. So make sure you're getting enough water, and make sure you're eating that nourishing diet. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here. I know it was just a quick run through. I've got a full blog post on it, like I said before. But I hope some of these tips helped, and I hope you'll use them and try them. You know, just give them a couple weeks. You don't have to try all of them at once. You know, it's nice if you just pick one and start. Be like, all right, I'm going to stretch 4 days this week, or I'm going to foam roll 3 days this week for 5 minutes. Start small, build up, and you know, eventually you'll be like, wow, how did I make all this progress? So thank you guys for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.